So what is the economic impact going to be of the war in Iran?
The war in Iran is sending energy prices higher, both oil and natural gas prices, which is a problem for the parts of the world that rely on fossil fuels for their economy. The consequences will be a hit to activity, higher inflation. The impact is still uncertain. A lot depends on how long this conflict lasts for.
OK, so let's take that piece by piece. What's happened to oil exports and oil prices so far?
What we've seen, Rosie, is disruption to traffic through the Straits of Hormuz, which is through which 15 to 20% of the world's oil supply travels. So that's causing nerves in the oil markets. And attacks by Iran on energy infrastructure in Saudi Arabia, which again is causing fears that the supply of oil might be curtailed.
And what about gas, which has also been hit, right?
Yes, that's right. So natural gas is another kind of casualty here. Qatar is a huge producer of natural gas. And again, Iran hit one of the liquefied natural gas facilities in Qatar, which is responsible for about a fifth of the world's supply of LNG. And again, that's been shut down for precautionary reasons. And so prices in Europe, natural gas prices in Europe have surged.
So what impact does that end up having on the global economy?
Although the global economy is becoming less reliant on oil over time, it still needs energy to function. And the consequence of these higher increases in oil prices and gas prices will be an increase in the cost of doing business, an increase for consumers going about their daily lives. And we've seen in the past that, that does have a chilling effect on what they do, on their activity, on GDP, and it will also raise inflation. Now, a lot depends on how long this shock lasts for. So it may be a fleeting impact. There is a chance that prices could go higher still. People in the industry are talking about $100 oil price per barrel of Brent crude. They're talking about gas prices going further still. And so, there is a chance that the shock could get bigger. That's not great news for Donald Trump. Midterms are approaching in November. The price of gas at the pump is very salient for Americans, well, for voters generally. And so, the higher the oil price is, the oil price inches up, the more that could become a political problem.
It's not just about oil prices and gas prices, though, is it? Aren't there other sectors that are also going to be hit?
Yes, well, we've seen, in particular, the airline industry being hit. The Gulf is a very big hub. Dubai is one of the biggest hubs for passenger traffic and air freight. Huge logistics hub for ports as well. And so all of this disruption has translated into a shock for airlines. We've seen their stock prices falling in recent days. We've seen disruptions and passengers stranded around the world, really, because of the location of the war. So airlines have been a big victim thus far. That said, some people do benefit from war, such as the nature of markets, and we've seen defence stocks surging.
So what does all this mean for places in the Gulf that really banked on being stable oases?
It's a really good question, Rosie. And I think we should start with Dubai in particular, a place that, for years has attracted people and businesses to kind of trade there, to live there. The idea is that it's hassle-free, that geography doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it's in a troubled region. And it's really thrived. And in fact, it's been a model that others have sought to follow, for example, Saudi Arabia. And what we saw over the weekend was that this illusion that geography doesn't matter was really shattered, with a hotel in Dubai going up in flames. And so a lot depends now on how long the conflict lasts for. And so perhaps the memory will fade soon enough, or perhaps, if the conflict goes on and if a more unstable Iran emerges, then people will start to attach kind of a geopolitical risk premium to being based in Dubai and doing business in Dubai, and that could be a blow. That would be a blow to Dubai's business model.
Of course, we don't know how long this war will last. Trump himself talks about days versus weeks, could go on for months or years. When will we know if this is a shock or if this is going to have a profound impact on the global economy?
I think that one of the key questions that industry analysts will be looking at is how long you see disruption along the Strait of Hormuz. Does Iran keep lashing out at its neighbours? And the longer it goes on for, the bigger the uncertainty, which is not helpful for the global economy, and also the greater the chance that prices stay higher, that traders start building in a kind of risk premium because they just don't know what's going on.
Rachana, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rosie.